Tonight, we're going to talk about the social rules that people followed in Victorian times. Believe me, these people had some very strange ideas about what was and wasn't acceptable behavior. It will make the awkward moments you have today seem trivial by comparison. If you like these stories, please like or subscribe. I'm really interested to know where you're all listening from. Please leave a comment below with your location and the current time. I'm always amazed by how people all over the world are falling asleep to this. Okay, let's go back to Victorian England. Believe me, it's going to be a wild journey. Well done. You have just woken up in London. It is around 1850. You wake up and open your eyes. You see that you are in a narrow bed frame made of iron. This is not your usual memory foam mattress. This one is filled with horsehair. It is a bit prickly and a bit bumpy. The room is cold. It was really cold. The fire that was burning when you fell asleep has gone out, but there are still some hot embers left. These embers are bright enough to see the shadows of the furniture around you. A big wardrobe, a washstand with a ceramic sink, and a dressing table with a small mirror. You can hear the sound of horse-drawn carriages going past on cobblestones outside. A dog barks in the distance. The air has a smoky smell, like it's full of coal. There's always a smoky smell of coal in London. It gets in through every crack in the walls, under every door, and through every window frame. There's also the faint smell of bergamot oil from the perfume bottle on your dressing table. That fresh, sharp, citrusy smell that everyone's wearing these days. The sheets around you are made of cotton. They are not very soft, but they are clean. You are wearing a night dress made of flannel that is buttoned all the way up to your chin. Make sure you don't let anyone see your neck or wrists while you're asleep. That would be really bad. There's a small bell on the table next to your bed. You pick it up and press the button. You hear footsteps on the stairs almost straight away. Your maid, Mary, is at the door. She is already fully dressed, even though it is early. "Good morning, miss," she says, doing a little curtsy. "Should I pull the curtains?" Without waiting for your answer, she goes to the window and pulls back the heavy velvet curtains. She lets in the weak, gray daylight of London. The glass is covered in soot from the many chimneys that are sending smoke into the air. "What do you want to wear today, miss?" Mary asks as she moves to the wardrobe and opens it. Inside, there are lots of different dresses. Each one is more beautiful than the last. This is where your introduction to Victorian social rules starts. Everything you do today, like what you wear, how you speak, how you walk, who you talk to, and when you talk to them, will be governed by the most complex social code ever created by humans. The Victorians were basically living their lives like experts. If you make a mistake, you could end up being shamed in public. Mary reminds you that you have a meeting with Mrs. Hartley in the morning at 11 o'clock. She's choosing a day dress in a deep blue color. You have tea with your cousin Emily at 4. These morning calls teach you about Victorian social rules. Even though they're called morning events, they don't actually take place in the morning. Morning calls are between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. I know this sounds strange, but if you call them afternoon calls, people will think you're crazy. Morning calls last for exactly 15 minutes. They don't last 14 minutes, 16 minutes, or 15 minutes. Make sure you have a pocket watch to time yourself because being late is very rude. Mary helps you put on your clothes, which takes a bit of time. First, the smock, which is basically a long cotton slip. Then the corset. Who's the boy? The corset. Mary puts it around your waist and starts pulling the laces. You say tighter, remembering that a Victorian lady is supposed to have a waist that you can fit your hand around. Yes, Miss Mary says, pulling hard and fast until you can hardly breathe. Your ribs move a little. Your lungs can only expand to about half their full size. This is fashion, darling. Then you need to get the petticoats. There are 1, 2, or 3 of them. Each one makes your lower half look bigger. Then the crinoline, which is a cage-like structure made of steel hoops, makes your skirt bell out around you like a giant lampshade. At last, the dress is all about the tight top and huge skirt. When you're done, you'll be wearing about 15 pounds of clothing. Mary does your hair. She pulls it back hard from your face and puts it in a neat bun at the back of your neck. No loose hairs allowed. Everything is kept in order. Miss, are you wearing gloves or mittens today? Mary asks, holding up both options. You remember that a proper Victorian lady never showed her bare hands in public, and that she always wore gloves. Never. Your hands should always stay hidden, as if there's some strange rule about keeping your hands covered. As Mary helps you put on your gloves, you remember another important rule: don't wear perfume. Queen Victoria said that strong, heavy perfumes that smell very musky are not suitable for anyone. Instead, you put a little bit of lemon and bergamot oil on your handkerchief. This will make your hands smell nice. It's not strong enough to suggest that you're trying to seduce anyone with your strong perfume. You get dressed and go downstairs for breakfast. The house feels like it's come to life. Servants move quickly and quietly, wiping dust away, sweeping the floor, and polishing surfaces. The cook has been awake since 5 a.m. making breakfast. Your father is sitting at the head of the table in the dining room, reading a newspaper. Your mom is at the other end of the room, writing letters. They're both wearing full-length clothes because Victorians wouldn't dream of eating breakfast in anything other than their best clothes. Good morning, you say as you sit down. Your dad nods at you as he reads the newspaper, then puts it back down. In Victorian times, people did not like to show affection in public, even if it was between family members. Hugs and kisses on the cheek are not allowed. Breakfast is a big meal. Eggs, bacon, kidneys, toast, and porridge. People in Victorian times ate a lot for breakfast. This is the biggest meal they have all day. You pick at your corset, making it impossible to take more than tiny bites. Jane, don't forget, your mom says this while she's still reading her letter. Mrs. Hartley's daughter has just said yes to a proposal of marriage. Make sure you congratulate her, but don't ask her about the wedding. That would be rude. You nod, making a mental note. This is typical of the unwritten rules that govern Victorian society. You should acknowledge important life events, but don't seem too interested in them. Curiosity is vulgar. After breakfast, you have a few hours before your morning call. You decide to work on your needlepoint, which is a very feminine activity. As the saying goes, idle hands are the devil's workshop, and a proper Victorian lady is always busy. You are sitting by the window in the drawing room. You are stitching a pattern of flowers onto a piece of linen. Your mother joins you and starts doing needlework too. I saw Mrs. Fairchild yesterday. She told me. Her son has come back from university. You keep your eyes on your stitching, even though your heart is beating a little faster. Thomas Fairchild, you danced with him at a party last season, before he went to Oxford to study. He had nice eyes, and he wasn't rude, which makes him better than most of the young men you've danced with. You say, "How nice," your voice sounding neutral. She said he asked about you. Your mother carries on watching you closely to see how you react. You feel your cheeks get warm, but you don't show it. Did he? He was very polite. Your mother smiles slightly, pleased with how you're responding. It would be wrong for a woman to show too much interest in a young man. When you're courting someone in Victorian times, it's important to act like you're not actually courting them. It's exactly 11 o'clock. You put on your hat, gloves, and cloak, and leave with your mother for Mrs. Hartley's house. You carry a small card case with you. Inside, it is a small stack of visiting cards. These are small pieces of paper with your name printed on them. These are an important part of the morning call ritual. Mrs. Hartley lives just a few streets away, but it would be rude to walk too quickly. You go at a pace like a proper Victorian lady. He takes small steps, keeps his back straight, and looks down modestly. Your huge skirt is so long that it sometimes swings in front of you, almost hitting small children or dogs who come too close. People pass you on the street. Men show respect by tipping their hats. You acknowledge them with a nod, but never make eye contact with strangers. A man would never talk to a woman he hasn't been introduced to, and a woman would never talk to a strange man. You get to Mrs. Hartley's at 11 o'clock exactly. It is very important to be on time. Being early is as bad as being late. Both suggest that you don't have enough to keep you busy, which would be embarrassing. The butler opens the door. You give him your visiting cards, one for you and one for your mother. He takes them to the drawing room, where Mrs. Hartley and her daughter Charlotte are waiting. He takes them on a small silver tray. Everyone curtsies. People don't hug or kiss on the cheek. People try not to touch each other as much as possible. "It's nice of you to call," says Mrs. Hartley, and she gestures for you to sit down. You sit down on a small sofa, being careful not to put your big skirt in the way. Sitting gracefully in a crinoline is a real art. You will need to sit very close to the edge of your seat, as there is a steel cage around the bottom half of your body. "We were so happy to hear the news," your mother says to Charlotte, who blushes. "Thank you," Charlotte says quietly, looking down. "Mr. Edwards is very nice." And that's all there is to it. That's all the information you're going to get about Charlotte's engagement. This has nothing to do with her fiancé. The wedding date, how they met, and whether she loves him are not important. Those questions would be too personal. Victorians are not curious. The conversation changes to more comfortable topics. The weather was cloudy, but not rainy. The recent sermons at church were uplifting, but not too long. And the musical performance you all attended was accomplished, but not showy. Everything is described in a very calm way. The lower classes are the ones who have strong opinions. After exactly 15 minutes, your mother nods slightly. "That's your cue. You both stand up. I was very happy to see you." Mrs. Hartley also says that standing is good. Say more curtsies, more pleasantries. Then you're back out on the street. The morning call was completed successfully. Your mom says that went well as you walk home. Charlotte looked well, didn't she? That's great. You agree. In Victorian times, if someone did something really well, the best way to say it was to say they had gone the extra mile. When you get home, have a light lunch, and then spend the afternoon reading a book that will improve your vocabulary. It won't be anything too exciting or romantic, of course. Novels that make you feel things are thought of as being bad for young women. You have tea with your cousin Emily at 4 o'clock. She comes to your house. The ritual is like the morning call, but less formal because Emily is family. You always stand up straight, speak calmly about things that matter, and never gossip. After Emily leaves, you have a few hours before it's time for dinner. You practice the piano for an hour. This is long enough to keep up your skills, but not so long that you start to think you could become a professional musician. Dinner is at 7. This is a relaxed family meal, since you are not entertaining anyone. Even so, you put on a dress that's a bit fancier than your everyday outfit, but not as fancy as an evening dress. Victorians would change their clothes many times a day. Each outfit is chosen to suit the particular situation. When you're at the dinner table, people are nice to each other, but they don't talk about their personal lives. Your father is talking to your brother about work. Your mother talks about the charity work she does. You listen carefully, and sometimes you give a gentle opinion when someone talks directly to you. After dinner, you all go to the drawing room. Your brother and father might have brandy and cigars in the study, but ladies don't drink anything stronger than cherry, and they certainly don't smoke. Instead, you could play the piano for your family or work on your needlepoint. By 10 o'clock, everyone is ready to go to bed. Mary helps you get undressed as she navigates another day of Victorian propriety, taking off your clothes one by one. You can finally breathe again when the corset is taken off. "Do you need anything else, miss?" Mary asks a question as she helps you put on your nightdress. "No. Thanks, Mary," you say as you get into bed and relax. She bows and leaves, taking the oil lamp with her. The room is completely dark, except for the soft light from the fire in the fireplace. You lie there thinking about the day and how you had to control yourself. It's tiring, but it's nice to know exactly what you need to do at any time. As you start to fall asleep, you think about what tomorrow will bring in a world where people try to be perfect and where feelings are kept secret. You'll need to know how to behave at a formal dinner party, which means you'll have to remember a lot of new rules. But we can talk about that tomorrow. Right now, you let the quiet sounds of the city make you feel sleepy. Before you fall asleep, you think about Thomas Fairchild and his kind eyes. In this world, where so much is restricted and controlled, even the smallest connection feels important. You wonder if you'll see him soon, and what tricky social rules you'll have to follow if you do. Fog comes in from outside, covering the city in its wet grip. Gas lamps make the cobblestone streets look a bit blurry. A carriage goes past, making a noise as the wheels clatter. A night watchman announces the time, and all across London, behind the front doors of many houses, Victorians are trapped by their social rules, even in their dreams. It's morning, and you hear Mary pull back the curtains. The pale winter sun struggles to break through the London fog. Get ready for another day of Victorian manners. Good morning, Miss Mary says, putting a cup of hot chocolate on your bedside table. It's going to be a busy day. You enjoy a sip of chocolate while Mary gets your morning dress ready. Today is an important day. You're going to a formal dinner party at the Fairchilds' house. Yes, I'm talking about the Fairchilds. Thomas will be there. The morning goes by quickly as I get ready. Your mom says you should practice the piano for 2 hours, not the usual hour. She explains that the Fairchilds might ask you to play. Mrs. Fairchild talked about their new pianoforte. It would be rude to say no. Another Victorian rule to remember: if someone asks you to show them what you can do, you should of course do that. But don't make it seem like you're desperate to show off. It's not easy to get the balance right. After lunch, you go for a short walk in the nearby park with your mother. The fresh winter air is actually cleaner than the air inside most homes, where coal fires fill the rooms with a fine layer of soot. Women walk along the paths, greeting people they know. Men bow their heads as they walk past. Remember, your mom says quietly as you walk, when you're having dinner, each person will be seated according to their rank. Don't be surprised by her placement, whatever it is. You nod. The Victorian dinner table was a place where the different levels of society were clearly seen. The most important man sits on the right of the hostess. The most important woman sits on the right of the host. Everyone else is arranged in a line, with the most important people at the front. If you're sitting near the bottom of the table, it is a clear message about your status. When they get home, they start getting ready for the evening. If you are invited to a formal dinner party, you should dress accordingly. Mary fills your bath with water and adds a few drops of rose oil. It's cold in the bathroom, even though there's a small fire in the fireplace. You quickly get out of the bath and are immediately struck by the cold. Then it's time for the dressing. You will need to dress formally tonight. Your corset is laced up more tightly than normal. Your kidneys are wider. Your dress is a pale blue color and made of silk. It has a trim made of delicate lace. The neckline is lower than the neckline of summer dress, showing your collarbones and a hint of your shoulder. The most skin a woman who is not married and is considered respectable can show. Your hair is arranged in a fancy style, with small silk flowers pinned among the curls. To get a fashionable pale complexion, all you need to do is dust your face with a little rice powder. There is no rouge, though. Only actresses and women who might be considered promiscuous wear makeup that stands out. "You look beautiful," says Miss Mary, as she takes a step back to admire her work. You don't even recognize the person looking back at you in the mirror. You look just like a Victorian young lady should. You are ready for anything, in control of yourself, and looking very stylish with a waist that seems too small and a skirt that is too wide. The fashion industry is in trouble, but it must still be followed. Your dad has organized a horse-drawn carriage to take you to the Fairchilds. It's a cold night, and you don't want to ruin your carefully arranged appearance by going for a walk. Also, arriving in a carriage instead of on foot shows that your family has a lot of money. The carriage stops at a big townhouse on one of the most fashionable streets in London. Lots of lights are coming from every window. A servant in formal clothing opens the door of the carriage and helps you get out. The house is warm and bright inside. The entrance hall is lit by gas lighting, the latest modern convenience. A maid takes your cloak off, showing you your fancy evening clothes. When you go into the drawing room, the butler tells the other servants that your family has arrived. Mr. and Mrs. Wilson and Miss Jane Wilson. Everyone looks over at her. You feel your cheeks get warm, but you keep calm as you curtsy to Mr. and Mrs. Fairchild. Thomas is standing next to his mother. He's taller than you remember. His evening clothes make his broad shoulders stand out. He bows just the right amount, not too deep, so it doesn't look too respectful, but not too shallow either, so it doesn't look disrespectful. Miss Wilson, he says, his voice deeper than you remember. It's great to see you again. You reply to Mr. Fairchild, trying to sound polite. I'm sure Oxford would agree with you. He smiles, but only a little. It does. Thank you. London has more to offer than Oxford. Is he showing you that he likes you? It's really difficult to tell with Victorian men. They don't say much, but when they do, it's always with a polite smile. More guests arrive. The drawing room is filled with the sound of people talking politely to each other. Everyone stands up. If someone sits down before dinner, it looks like they're eager to eat, which is considered rude. You see Charlotte Hartley and her fiancé, Mr. Edwards, sitting in the room. They are a respectable distance apart. No touching and no looking at each other. To a person who doesn't know what they're looking at, they might not even seem like they're in a relationship. When all the guests have arrived, the butler tells them that dinner is ready. Now it's time for the tricky bit, getting into the dining room. Mr. Fairchild, the host, offers his arm to the woman with the most important job. The most important man there offers the woman in charge his arm. Everyone else pairs off based on their status, and then they go into the dining room in a line. You are paired with a middle-aged man you have never met. Thomas is with an old lady. She is wearing a fancy hat made of fabric. The dining room is beautifully decorated with crystal, silver, and candlelight. The table is shiny and made of silver and china. Every setting has lots of different utensils. We have lots of different types of utensils like fish forks, soup spoons, dessert spoons, and various knives. Using the wrong utensil would be really embarrassing. You're sitting in the middle of the table, which is better than being at the bottom, but not as good as being at the top. Thomas is sat on the other side of the room, a few seats away. When you have dinner in Victorian times, you mainly talk to the men sitting on your left and right. You never talk to people sitting across the table. The man on your right looks at you. I know you know my nephew, Charles Pembroke. I think you danced at Lady Hamilton's ball last season. You try to remember. Yes, you did dance with a man called Pembroke. He stepped on your feet 3 times and didn't stop talking about his horse. Yes, you say in a nice way. Mr. Pembroke is a very good dancer. A little white lie can help people get along. The dinner has many courses. These include soup, fish, meat, game, and dessert. Each course has its own serving rituals and utensils. You eat slowly and quietly. A lady is always seen to eat in a way that suggests she is not hungry, even if she really is starving. Everyone is talking about things that are interesting but not rude. Politics, religion, money, and personal matters are never discussed. Instead, people chat about what they've seen on stage, the art on display at the Royal Academy, the weather, and holidays to popular places like Italy or France. You see Thomas looking at you from the other side of the table. When your eyes meet, he quickly looks away. In a world where there are a lot of strict social rules, even looking someone in the eye can have a deeper meaning. After dessert, the most traditional part of a Victorian dinner party happens. Mrs. Fairchild catches the eye of the most important female guest and stands up. This is the signal for all the women to leave the dining room. The men can then carry on smoking their cigars. You go with the group of women back to the drawing room. This gender segregation had many purposes in Victorian society. It lets the men talk about topics like business and politics. It lets women use the chamber pot if they need to. It's a must, given the skirts that are so big they may go into the toilet a lot. It makes people think that women can't handle cigars and strong drinks. In the drawing room, the women sit down in groups to chat. Mrs. Fairchild makes sure that Charlotte and her fiancé's mother sit together. This is a sign that the marriage is going to be approved. Miss Wilson, would you like to play for us? Mrs. Fairchild points to the piano in the corner and asks a question. Here it is, the thing you've all been waiting for. You can't refuse, but you also shouldn't seem too keen. If you want to, Mrs. Fairchild, you say, although I'm sure there are more accomplished musicians here. That's silly. Mrs. Fairchild says, we've all heard how talented you are. You move to the piano and sit down on the small bench, trying to make your long skirt comfortable. You play a piece by Mozart. It is technically challenging, but not too showy. You stand up straight and keep a calm face with a slight smile. Don't move your mouth or body to the music. That would be seen as too emotional. When you're done, the women clap politely. You show that you agree with them by nodding, and then you go back to your seat. Your hands are a bit shaky, but no one seems to notice. A proper Victorian lady never shows any signs of nervousness. About half an hour after the ladies left the dining room, the men joined them. Their clothes smell of cigars. Some people have red cheeks from drinking port. The older men sit down, while the younger ones chat with the women. Thomas walks over to you and says hello to some other guests first, so that he doesn't seem too keen. I enjoyed your performance, Miss Wilson, he says when he finally gets to you. Was it Mozart, then? Yes, you reply to his sonata in C major. You play really well, he says, then quickly adds something else. But don't go overboard, of course. You smile a little. Thank you, Mr. Fairchild. I see. You're studying classics at Oxford. This is how Victorian flirting started. Two people would have a conversation about a topic that didn't sound like a flirtation, but actually was one. You talk about books, but not in a romantic way. The music should be moderate, and the art should not be too modern. You are all the time looking at each other. Is he intelligent? Does she read a lot? Will we get along? Mrs. Fairchild looks at you both and seems happy. Mothers were the main people responsible for organizing Victorian matches. She definitely invited your family to meet you and Thomas tonight. It seems like only a few minutes have passed, but it's actually been nearly half an hour. Thomas does not want to leave, but he eventually manages to find a reason to go. I should talk to Miss Hartley and congratulate her on her engagement, he says. You reply, obviously disappointed. I enjoyed talking to you, Mr. Fairchild. He bows a little. Miss Wilson, I enjoyed myself. Your mother appears next to you as he walks away. She says he seems quite attentive. Does he? You say, pretending you hadn't noticed. Your mother isn't fooled. Jane, don't seem too interested. A young woman who is too eager will put off any suitor. The evening carries on with more music, some card games, and people moving around the room. Everyone makes sure they talk to each other. People don't stay on the same topic for very long. It is very important that people get along. The first guests will leave at 11 o'clock. This means that it's okay for other people to leave too. The Victorians had very strict rules about when to end a party. Your dad catches your mom's eye, and she nods slightly. Time to go. You say goodbye to the people who hosted you and thank them properly for being so kind. Thomas is close by and bows to you one last time. See you again soon, Miss Wilson, he says gently. Good evening, Mr. Fairchild. You reply, sounding calm and collected. Your carriage is waiting outside. You sit down and finally relax a bit. The evening went well. You didn't do anything wrong socially, and Thomas seemed interested in you. Your father says it was a great evening as the carriage pulls away. This is a big compliment from him. Your mother agrees. Mrs. Fairchild said that they are going to put on a small musical event next week. We're going to get an invitation. Your heart beats a little faster. Another chance to see Thomas. When you get home, Mary helps you undress. She hangs up her evening gown and puts away your jewelry. Your hair, which you have arranged so carefully, falls down your back as she takes the pins out. Did you enjoy yourself, miss? Mary asks you a question as she brushes your hair. It was a nice evening, you say, staying calm even with your maid. Servants notice everything and talk about it behind your back. If anyone in Thomas's household saw him looking excited, they would tell the servants. When Mary leaves, you sit at your dressing table for a moment, looking at your reflection. You're thinking very quickly. Did Thomas really go out of his way to find you? What did his mother's careful look mean? Will he call you? Or should you wait until the musical evening to meet again? Dating in the Victorian era is like playing chess without being able to see. Every move is important, but often you don't realize that you're making a move and the consequences can be serious. Your future happiness depends on finding the right partner. You go to the window and pull back the curtain a little so you can see the foggy night in London. Gas lamps make bright circles of light in the mist. A single taxi drives slowly past on a stone path. Maybe Thomas Fairchild is thinking of you too. In this world, where people try to be proper and where feelings are kept hidden, who can say what is going on? You'll have to wait and see what happens when you meet people socially again and what new rules you'll have to follow. You will meet Thomas Fairchild again sooner than you thought. It will happen the next day. You are reading in the front room, but you don't really concentrate. You are reading a book about bot, and it is getting better. Then Mary comes to the door. Mr. Thomas Fairchild is here, she announces. He wants to know if you and your mom have any visitors. You feel excited, but you don't show it. Please tell him we are Mary and let my mother know. A proper Victorian young lady is never left alone with a gentleman caller. Mom has to be there for the whole visit. It would be very wrong to even go out of the room for a minute. Mary curtsies and leaves. You have about 30 seconds to get ready. You look at your hair in the little mirror on the shelf above the fireplace. Stand up straight and pick up your book again. Make sure you look busy when he comes in. The door opens and Thomas is there. He looks even more handsome in the light of day. His formal morning clothes fit him perfectly. He had a dark coat on, his hat was perfectly tied, and his boots were polished. He's carrying his top hat and gloves. Men should always take their hats off in buildings, but keep their gloves on until they are sat down. Miss Wilson, he says, bowing. I hope you are well today. Quite well. Thank you, Mr. Fairchild. You reply, putting your book down and pointing at a chair. Please sit down. My mother will be here soon. Thomas sits down and finally takes off his gloves, putting them in his hat. This is how the Victorians would have felt about getting comfortable. I had fun at your parents' home last night. You sounded nice and friendly, but not too friendly. I did too, he replies. My mom thought your music was really good. You have no time to reply before your mother comes into the room. Thomas quickly stands up. Men should stand up when a woman enters a room. Mr. Fairchild, your mom says, smiling. What a nice surprise. Thomas bows again. Mrs. Wilson, I hope I'm not disturbing you. Not at all, your mother assures him, sitting down on the sofa next to you. Now it's time for the real deal. I've come to invite you, says Thomas. Next Tuesday, my mom is running a little musical event. She hopes Miss Wilson and you will be able to come. I see. That explains his presence. I'm not just here to see you. I'm here as your mother's messenger. Even so, he could have sent a servant with a written invitation. The fact that he came himself shows that he really cares. How kind of you, your mother says. We would be very happy to accept. Excellent, says Thomas, looking at you. My mom also said she'd be very happy if Miss Wilson could sing. Everyone thought your performance of Mozart last night was great. Now you understand completely. Mrs. Fairchild wants to show you to her friends. You are being judged as a possible daughter-in-law. You say you would be happy to play, but I'm sure your mother has played with more accomplished musicians. Thomas shakes his head. I don't know of any. You will be the best part of the evening. Is he really saying something nice about you directly? That would have been seen as very wrong in Victorian times. Your mother joins in. My daughter practices very hard, Mr. Fairchild. We are happy to have the chance to show people what she has achieved. The conversation carries on with polite conversation, such as chatting about mutual acquaintances or planning social events. Thomas mostly talks to your mother and only sometimes looks at you. This is the traditional Victorian way. After 15 minutes, Thomas gets up. This was the time he had been told to by his doctor. Mrs. Wilson, I have taken up enough of your time. He says he will tell his mother that you have accepted. She'll be really happy. Your mother rings the bell for Mary, who then makes Thomas leave. He bows to both of you, but looks at you for a little bit longer than necessary. When the door closes behind him, your mother looks at you and seems happy. She says that the Fairchild are interested in you. You try to look a little bit pleased. Mrs. Fairchild is very kind. She has invited us to her musical evening. Your mom looks at you in a way that tells you something. Mrs. Fairchild wasn't the one who called us. Was it? The bell rings again before you could say anything. Mary shows up shortly afterwards. This is Miss Charlotte Hartley and Mrs. Hartley. Mom says there are more visitors. The morning call circuit is working well. Charlotte arrives with her mom. They were both wearing the latest fashions. Charlotte looks really happy and healthy. Engagement seems to be working out well for her. After they have said hello, Charlotte leans forward a little bit and her eyes shine with excitement. Do you know who Mrs. Pembroke is? She asks quietly. Your mother raises an eyebrow. What about her? Mrs. Hartley makes a noise with her tongue. It's rather shocking. She was seen riding in the park with Mr. Foster in his carriage. This is really shocking news. Mrs. Pembroke is a married woman. Mr. Foster is a bachelor who likes to flirt and likes to be alone together in a carriage. That's basically telling everyone that you're having an affair. Your mother suggests that maybe there was a servant there. She always tries to think the best of people. Mrs. Hartley shakes her head. He was on his own. My cousin's wife saw them for herself. This is how people's good names are ruined in Victorian London. If a woman's social reputation becomes tarnished, it can be very hard to fix. Men have more freedom. Mr. Foster might get some disapproving looks at his club, but that's about it. People are still treating men and women differently in 1850. They start talking about Charlotte's wedding, which is going well. She'll be married in 3 months. Her trust is being prepared. The wedding breakfast will be at the Hartleys' home after the church ceremony. Watching Charlotte, you can see that she's really happy. This makes you feel excited, but not jealous. Are you planning a wedding for Thomas Fairchild soon? Or is it just me who's reading too much into this social call? When the Hartleys leave, you have just about an hour before your next task. A meeting of the charity committee is taking place at the vicarage. Women from wealthy Victorian families were expected to do good things, like helping the poor and sick. It's seen as a good way for women to express their feelings and show kindness. The meeting is boring but important. You and 12 other women from well-off families talk about winter blankets for the poor, soup kitchens, and clothes donations. The vicar's wife is in charge of taking notes and giving people jobs to do. You have offered to collect old clothes from a few people's homes. It's a good activity that will let you make important calls in the morning. After the meeting, you walk home with 2 other young women who live nearby. People always end up talking about relationships and possible partners. Did you hear the news? Thomas Fairchild has returned from Oxford. One of them, Emma Parker, asks a question, but she asks it in a way that is not serious enough. Yes, I think I heard you say that even though you feel a bit tight in the chest, you're going to keep speaking calmly. Emma has always been attracted to Thomas. My mom says that Mrs. Fairchild is going to put on a musical evening next week. Emma continues. We have been invited. Are you going to come? Yes, we got an invitation too. You replied, but you didn't say that Thomas gave it to you. Emma's smile looked a bit worried. How lovely. Maybe you'll play for us. You're very good at playing the piano. You said that Mrs. Fairchild did ask for a performance. Sarah, Emma's other friend, joins in too. Thomas really liked music. I remember him helping the pianist at the Johnsons' ball last season by turning the pages. The message is obvious. Both these young ladies think that Thomas Fairchild could be a good husband for them. There are a lot of single men in Victorian London, and many of them are fighting for the same women. Thomas is one of the best-looking men around, and he's also well off. When you get home, you're tired from trying to look calm. The constant care and attention expected by Victorian social rules is tiring. You have to be very careful about every word you use, every glance you give, and every gesture you make. You have just enough time to get ready for dinner. You will change into another dress and have a different hairstyle before you join your family for dinner. Tonight, it's just the four of you. Your parents, your brother James, and you. James is feeling really good. He's been in his club all day, socializing with other young men from good families. The difference between men and women in Victorian society gives him freedoms that you would only be able to dream of. He is free to do whatever he wants. He can play sports, talk about politics and business, and even travel alone. I saw Thomas Fairchild at the club today. James mentioned his name as he started eating his roast beef. You look at your plate and eat a small, gentle bite of potato. Did you? Your father says that the family is good, that the child is fair, and that they have a solid reputation. Thomas said he had called here today. James, looking at you, says more. He is inviting you to a musical event that his mother is organizing. Yes, he was here this morning. Your mother can confirm that. He's a very polite young man. James smiles. He asked you a lot of questions, Jane. You look up, and you can't help but be interested. Did he? I would like to know if you like writing, what books you read, and if you're interested in art exhibitions. This is important. Thomas is finding out about you and trying to see if you like the same things as him. It's like checking your dating profile, but for the Victorian era. Your mom looks at James and quickly tells him not to tease you, but you can see she's happy. It would be good to have a match with the Fairchild family. Thomas is the oldest son. He will inherit his father's banking business and a lot of money. He seems really nice, which is a bonus that not all Victorian brides get. After dinner, you go to the drawing room. James and your father go to the study to enjoy a port and a cigar. Another evening of sewing and a quiet chat with your mom. If Thomas Fairchild keeps showing interest, your mother says as she puts her needle in the thread. Let's think about what clothes you have. That blue silk evening gown is lovely, but you'll need something new for the musical evening. This is how your mother shows that she thinks Thomas is a good choice as a future husband. People don't just order new dresses whenever they like, because they cost a lot of money. You suggest that maybe the dressmaker could come tomorrow. You sound like you're only a little bit interested. Your mother nods. I'll send a note tomorrow. The next few days go by quickly as we get ready for the musical evening. The dressmaker makes a new dress in pale green silk that makes your eyes look good. You practice the piano for hours every day, picking a piece that sounds lovely but is not too showy. Mendelssohn's Song without lyrics. On the morning of the musical evening, you get a surprise package. Mary will bring it to your room. It will be a small box wrapped in brown paper. This is for you, she says. The Fairchild's footman delivered it. Your hands are a bit shaky as you take it out of the wrapping. There's a small book of poems inside. Tennyson's latest collection. A small card comes with it, and it has a short message written in a strong, manly hand. Miss Wilson, I thought you might like these poems. The one on page 43 made me think of the way you play. Yours respectfully, T. Fairchild, you quickly turn to page 43. There's a poem about music. One line of the poem is underlined. The player's skillful playing moves the listener. Mary is looking at your face, and she seems interested. You say, "It's just a book of poetry," in a casual way, as if you get books from gentlemen every day. This is from Mr. Fairchild. Miss Mary says it was very nice of him. She looked like she knew something. Servants always know what's going on before anyone else. You put the book away in your drawer. In Victorian times, it was considered polite not to talk about it or show it in public. If a man and woman are not married, they're not allowed to give each other gifts. But they can give each other gifts if they are engaged. Thomas has broken the rules by sending you this book. Saying it out loud would be the same as breaking them. But in your room, alone, you hold the book to your chest for a moment, letting yourself feel the excitement that proper Victorian ladies never showed. Thomas Fairchild is definitely showing you he likes you. That evening, your family arrives at the Fairchild's home right on time. It's not too early, which would seem too keen, and it's not too late, which would be impolite. Your new green silk gown rustles gently as you get out of the carriage. The crinoline underneath keeps its perfect bell shape. The drawing room at Fairchild's is already full of guests. When you arrive, you immediately look for Thomas. You see him across the room, talking to an old man. He looks up when he sees you, and though he keeps his expression serious, his eyes light up. Mrs. Fairchild greets you warmly and says nice things about your dress. She also thanks you in advance for playing music. She takes you to a group of young women that includes Emma Parker. Emma's dress is almost the same color as yours, but it's not as well made. She sees the resemblance right away and smiles broadly. What a coincidence, Miss Wilson says. It looks like we both thought the same thing about the color. She's saying that we're both trying to catch Thomas's eye with our green dresses. The competition is still on. The evening's entertainment starts with a professional singer performing songs from Italy. Then a man plays the violin. You're scheduled to perform third. This is a good position because it means you're not the least important performer, but it's not first, which would suggest you're the most important performer. And it's not last, which would put too much pressure on you. As you go over to the piano, Thomas comes over to you. "Do you want me to turn the pages for you, Miss Wilson?" he asks. This is important. The book is so exciting that you can't put it down. It makes you feel like the character is right next to you at the piano. This is a very personal situation that is not often experienced by people who are not married. It's also public. Everyone will see how he looks at you. "Thank you, Mr. Fairchild." You say, your voice calm even though your heart is racing. That would be really useful. You sit down at the piano and try to make your huge skirts as comfortable as possible. Thomas is standing next to you. You can smell his cologne, sandalwood, and something citrusy. You put your music on the stand even though you've already learned the piece and don't really need it. The sheet music gives Thomas a reason to stand near you. Breathe in deeply and start playing. The Mendelssohn piece is lyrical and romantic, but not overly passionate, which makes it perfect for a Victorian-style performance. You notice Thomas next to you, turning the pages at just the right moment. If his hand touches yours by accident and you feel a shock, your playing stays perfect. When you finish, everyone claps a lot. Thomas offers his hand to help you get up from the piano bench. The crowd notices another small liberty. He plays beautifully, you think as you sit back down. "Thank you for your help," you reply quietly. Mrs. Fairchild is smiling broadly. Mr. Fairchild nods in approval, while Emma Parker looks as miserable as can be. The courtship dance goes on, with each step being carefully controlled. After the music, there will be snacks and drinks. Thomas gets you a cup of punch without making it obvious that he's doing it just for you. He doesn't stay to chat. That would be too obvious, but he moves on to see the other guests. Even so, the action is very important in a society where every action has consequences. As the evening goes on, you see that Thomas's father is talking to your own father. They're standing next to the fireplace, and they look serious. Maybe it's for work or something more personal. Your mother appears next to you and looks in the same direction as you. Your father is quite impressed with the Fairchild's banking business, she says quietly. He's thinking about investing. But there's something about the way she speaks that makes it seem like she's interested in more than just the money. The Victorians loved efficiency. If two families are thinking about getting married, why not also make business connections? The evening is coming to an end. The guests leave and thank the host for the nice music. Your family gets ready to leave. They put on cloaks and gloves. Thomas comes over to you while you're waiting for your carriage in the entrance hall. "Miss Wilson," he says formally, "can I call you tomorrow afternoon? I thought you might like to visit the exhibition at the Royal Academy." "With your parents' permission, of course," he adds quickly, glancing at your father. "This is the moment when I ask you to go to court." This is not a proposal, but it does show what they plan to do. In Victorian times, Thomas is asking if he can officially pursue you. Your father looks happy, but he also looks dignified. "Mr. Fairchild, we would be honored if you could come at about 2 p.m. 2 o'clock would be perfect." "Sir," Thomas replies, sounding relieved. He turns to you. "See you tomorrow, Miss Wilson." "See you tomorrow, Mr. Fairchild." You reply, your calm exterior hiding your inner excitement. Your carriage is waiting outside. Thomas helps you get ready to go, and he touches your hand one last time before you leave together. As the carriage pulls away, you see him standing in the doorway. He is watching you leave. In the low light of the gas lamps, his face looks more open and hopeful than the usual Victorian expression of propriety would suggest. Your mother holds your hand in the dark of the carriage. You don't need to say anything. The two of them are officially courting each other. Tomorrow, Thomas will ask you to go with him to the exhibition. Your mother will go with you and make sure you are safe. This is the first step on the path to engagement, marriage, and a shared life. Right now, you just enjoy the memory of his hand on yours, his eyes looking at yours as you play the piano, and the poetry book hidden in your drawer. In Victorian society, where people had very strict rules, these small moments are as exciting as the most passionate declarations in other eras. The London night is passing by outside the car window. Gas lamps lit up the foggy streets, casting yellow light on the streets. A clock in the distance is striking midnight. It's the end of another day trying to follow Victorian social rules. Tomorrow will be exciting because Thomas Fairchild will be there. The next day is bright and clear, which is unusual for London in winter because it is often foggy. Maybe the weather is on your side in your new relationship with Thomas Fairchild. You wake up earlier than usual, too excited to sleep, even though you know that proper Victorian ladies never showed such eagerness. Mary helps you pick clothes that are nice for walking around an art exhibition. A day dress in a deep shade of burgundy made from wool, with a matching hat and coat. The outfit looks good but is not too fancy. This is suitable for a young lady from a good family who is being chased by a respectable gentleman. "You look lovely, Miss Mary," she says, fastening her bonnet with pins. "Thank you, Mary," you reply, looking at your reflection. The burgundy color makes your skin look warm and healthy. You hope that Thomas will say yes. Your mother is already upstairs in the drawing room. She is dressed for her role as chaperone. In Victorian times, young people had to be washed at all times while they were courting. You and Thomas will only be alone together when you get married, if this is where your relationship leads. Remember, Mom says this as you wait for Thomas to arrive. It is not suitable for a young lady to be enthusiastic. Mr. Fairchild should feel like he is earning your respect, not that you are giving it to him easily. You nod, but privately you think the rules about courtship in Victorian times are exhausting. People are not being honest about how they really feel. You pretend not to care, but I know you do. But you have to follow the rules if you want to keep up your reputation and find a good match. The doorbell rings at exactly 2 o'clock. Thomas is always on time, which is another good thing about him. The butler shows him into the drawing room, where he bows to you and your mother. Mr. Wilson says he hopes Mrs. Wilson and Miss Wilson are both well today. Quite well. Thank you, Mr. Fairchild. Your mother says so. Today is a good day for an exhibition. Thomas agrees with this. The carriage is ready whenever you are. Thomas has brought his family's carriage. It is a beautiful vehicle with the Fairchild crest on the door. This shows how well off his family is and that he is serious about you. In Victorian society, every detail had a meaning. You and your mother sit together in the carriage. Thomas is standing opposite you. As the carriage starts to move, you notice Thomas looking at you. Even though he looks calm, you can see that he is impressed. That color looks really good on you, Miss Wilson, he says, then quickly adds something else. As Mrs. Wilson's daughter, you clearly have her good taste. The compliment is aimed at your mother, too, to avoid being rude. Thomas knows how the game works. You're very kind, Mr. Fairchild, you reply, feeling a bit embarrassed. The carriage goes through London's busy streets towards the Royal Academy. Thomas points out interesting places on the way. He mostly talks to your mother, but sometimes he looks at you. Everything is just right. At the exhibition, Thomas will buy your tickets. This is another statement of intention. You walk through the art museum, looking at paintings of landscapes, people, and historical events. The exhibition is full of fashionable people, many of whom you recognize from different social events. Miss Wilson or Mrs. Wilson calls. You look over and see Emma Parker coming with her mom. Emma would always like to be involved in your time with Thomas. Miss Parker, Thomas says, and bows politely. Mrs. Parker, I'm very happy to see you. Emma stands next to Thomas and points to a painting. Don't you think the artist has captured the light really well, Mr. Fairchild? It reminds me of the view from my aunt's house in the Lake District. You should definitely come and visit us sometime. The views are really beautiful. This is a big step, basically asking Thomas to meet her family's contacts. You stay calm, but on the inside you're thinking, oh, really? Thomas deals with the situation in a very polite and sensible way. I'm sure the Lake District is a beautiful place, Miss Parker. Right now, I'm focused on my work in London. Miss Wilson and I were talking about this portrait. The technique is really impressive. He politely leads you and your mother away from Emma and towards another gallery. Emma seems slightly annoyed. Thomas's social skills are good. As you go through the exhibition, you meet some other people you know. Every time they interact, it happens in the same way. Hello, friendly chat, and a few curious looks between you and Thomas. Everyone understands what's happening. Thomas Fairchild has said that he likes you, and he is taking you to the exhibition to show that he is interested. By the time tomorrow is over, everyone in your social circle will know. After spending an hour looking at art and meeting people, Thomas suggests that they get something to eat or drink. The Academy has a small tea room where visitors can rest and chat. He finds a table for the three of you and orders tea and small cakes. I hope you're enjoying the exhibition, Thomas says as you wait for your tea. You reply, Mr. Fairchild. The new paintings by Mr. Turner are very impressive. He says you might like them. You could see that he was actually quite pleased, even if he was trying to look serious. Your brother said you like painting. You say you're just an amateur, but you should be careful about saying that because you might be wrong. A proper Victorian lady might enjoy art, but she would never think of becoming an artist. I'd like to see your work sometime, Thomas says. Then he looks at your mother. Mrs. Wilson, would you mind if I did that? Your mother nods her head to show that she agrees. Jane has a few watercolors in the drawing room. You might want to take a look at them next time you come here. This is important. Your mom is clearly asking Thomas to call again. They're getting on well together. The delivery of the tea stops everyone talking for a moment. As you drink from your cup, you see a man at a nearby table looking at your group with interest. He's in his middle years, wears expensive clothes, and looks like he's thinking hard. There's something about him that makes you feel uneasy. Thomas sees that you're slightly unhappy. Is everything all right, Miss Wilson? You speak more quietly. That man seems to be looking at us closely. Thomas looks in the direction you pointed. Then he looks a bit more annoyed. Don't worry, Miss Wilson, but your mom has also seen a man. Lord Barrington, she says quietly. I didn't know he was back in London high society. Her tone makes you curious. Do you know him, Mum? Your mother and Thomas look at each other, as if they both know something you don't. Your mother says that Lord Barrington has a certain reputation. Thomas clears his throat, especially when talking about young ladies. Let's carry on exploring the exhibition. The next gallery has a great collection of miniatures. As you're about to leave, Lord Barrington also stands up and walks over to your table. Thomas immediately moves slightly to one side in front of you, as a subtle but obvious way of showing he's protecting you. Fairchild, Lord Barrington says with a slight bow. Mrs. Wilson, I believe this is the lovely Miss Wilson I've heard so much about. He looks at you in a way that makes your skin crawl. This is not the respectful look of a gentleman. It is more like the predatory look of a hunter. Thomas speaks politely, but in a slightly cold way. Lord Barrington, I didn't know you were back in London. Lord Barrington has just got back from the mainland, and he's still looking at you. Paris is nice, but I think London's young women are better. Maybe Miss Wilson will introduce me. This makes your mother feel uncomfortable. The social rules say that introductions should be made when someone asks for them, but Lord Barrington's reputation makes him someone an unmarried young lady would not want to know. Your mother deals with it in the perfect Victorian way. We are about to leave Lord Barrington. Maybe another time. It's a polite way of turning someone down, but it's still a rejection. Lord Barrington smiles tightly, but he can't talk about it without seeming rude. He says this in a smooth way, of course. We'll talk about it another time. As you leave the room, Thomas stands between you and Lord Barrington. His body language makes it clear he is protecting you, but he is not being rude. When you are in another gallery, he speaks quietly to your mother. Mrs. Wilson, I'm sorry about what happened. If I had known Lord Barrington would be there, I would have suggested a different activity. Your mother shakes her head. Mr. Fairchild, you couldn't have known. I'm glad you thought quickly. You're very interested in Lord Barrington and the strange things people say about him, but proper Victorian ladies don't ask direct questions about scandalous matters. You'll have to wait until you're alone with your mom to ask her more questions. The rest of the exhibition goes smoothly. You notice that Thomas is paying more attention than before and staying close to you as you move through the galleries. It's nice to feel safe, even if the threat is only a social one and not a physical one. When it's time to leave, Thomas will walk with you and your mother back to the carriage. As you sit down, he says, I hope you enjoyed the exhibition, Miss Wilson, even though you met Lord Barrington. No, Mr. Fairchild, you reassure him. The art was so amazing that it didn't matter if they were a bit socially awkward. Thomas looks relieved. I'm glad to hear it. He pauses for a moment, then says, I should also mention that Lord Barrington is not very popular in some of the upper-class homes in London. He has not behaved well towards young women. This is as close as a Victorian gentleman could get when warning you about a possible danger. The details are left vague to protect your sensitivities, but the message is clear. Stay away from Lord Barrington. The carriage takes you and your mother back home, where Thomas helps you both get off and onto the pavement. He bows formally at the front door. Thank you for a great afternoon, Mrs. Wilson. He says, Miss Wilson, can I call you again tomorrow? I'd like to talk to Mr. Wilson about something, if he's free. You feel your heart beating faster. You should talk about this with your dad. This was the only possible explanation in Victorian times when people were trying to find a partner. Thomas would like to ask if it is okay to give you his formal address. This is the step before an official engagement. Your mom stays calm more easily than you. I think my husband will be home tomorrow afternoon, Mr. Fairchild. 3 o'clock would be good. Thomas confirms that it is 3 o'clock. He looks at you for a moment, and for a moment you can see that he is feeling something genuine, even if he is still putting on an act. See you tomorrow, Miss Wilson. Mr. Fairchild, you have until tomorrow to reply. You sound more confident than you are. Inside the house, your mother waits until the door is shut, and then she smiles a little, feeling happy. Well, she says, I think Mr. Fairchild wants to talk to your dad tomorrow about what he plans to do. You nod, not sure if you can speak without saying too much. You still feel like a proper Victorian young lady, and you're not sure if you're ready to stop feeling that way. If your father says it's okay, your mother can carry on. A formal proposal should be sent to you very soon. We should talk about your trust. A trousseau is a collection of clothing, linen, and personal items that a bride brings to her marriage. This is a Victorian hope chest. When you plan something, your mother thinks that your engagement is definitely going to happen. Yes, mother, you say, try to look calm. Your brother James arrives home. The cold air and strong male energy he brings with him fill the entry hall. Jane, he says, noticing your red cheeks. You look like you had some good news. Has Fairchild already made a proposal? James, your mother tells you off. People don't talk about things like this in such a direct way. Mr. Fairchild took your sister and me to the Royal Academy today. He will call your father tomorrow. James smiles. Well done, little sister. Fairchild is a good man. It might be a bit serious, but it's definitely your brother's kind of thing. This is really great. He hasn't popped the question yet, but you remind them both, even though you're excited at the thought. James says it's just a formality as he takes off his gloves. Everyone in the town knows he likes you. Oh, and on the topic of town gossip, did you hear the news about Lord Barrington's return? It caused quite a stir at the club. Your mother looks worried. We met him at the exhibition. What a shame. James looks worried. Did you meet Barrington? Did he speak to Jane? Your mother says Mr. Fairchild did very well. But maybe you could tell your sister about what people say about Lord Barrington. James nods, understanding, of course, using the right words. After your mother has gone to talk to the housekeeper about dinner, he talks to you. Lord Barrington is what we gentlemen call a rake. He says this directly. He chases young women who don't want him. Last season, there was a big scandal involving the Matthews girl. There was no proof, but people still thought badly of her. She has been sent to stay with her relatives in Scotland. This is very direct information, especially for the time of the Victorian era. Sometimes brothers would warn their sisters about dangerous men, ignoring the usual rules about talking to each other. I see you say quietly, "Thank you for letting me know." James tells you to stay away from him, but I don't think you'll have to worry about that for much longer. If you're engaged to Fairchild, Barrington won't try to make you his girlfriend. You feel excited at the thought of getting engaged to Thomas. You were just a young lady in London high society less than a month ago. You were about to receive a proposal from one of the most desirable bachelors in the area. The rest of the day goes by with me feeling excited. You do the things you normally do, like practicing the piano, sewing, and having dinner with your family. But you can't stop thinking about tomorrow and what might happen then. That night, as Mary helps you get ready for bed, she sees that you are distracted. "A fun day, dear?" she asks, brushing your hair. "It's just an exhibition at the Royal Academy," you say, acting like nothing out of the ordinary is happening. Mary smiles, knowing what he is talking about. "Of course, Mississippi. Is Mr. Fairchild going to call again soon?" "Tomorrow afternoon." You say that he wants to talk to my dad. Mary's eyes widen. "Oh, miss, that's great news." You remind her that he hasn't proposed yet, but you can't help smiling. Mary tells you that it's only a matter of time. She says this as she puts down the brush. The whole family knows he's attracted to you. Cook says she will bake your favorite cake tomorrow to celebrate. Everyone seems to be waiting for a proposal. Everyone else is going to act surprised and amazed when it finally happens, but you, as a proper Victorian young lady, just have to pretend you don't know what's going on. You can't sleep because you're thinking too hard. Tomorrow, Thomas will talk to your dad. If your dad says yes and you don't think he won't, then Thomas will be able to ask you to marry him properly. You'll say yes after showing that you're surprised and thinking about it, and then you'll get engaged. In Victorian times, getting engaged was a serious matter. In the Victorian era, if a woman's engagement ended in divorce, it could damage her reputation. This was unlike today, where casual relationships often end without any lasting impact. If you say yes to Thomas's proposal, you're basically committed, unless something really shocking comes out. Think about what you know about Thomas Fairchild. He's good-looking, smart, and he comes from a well-off background. He is polite and keen to know what you think and what you like. By Victorian standards, he is almost perfect. But what about love? People from the Victorian era did not think that being head over heels in love was a good enough reason to get married. Things that matter include how well they get on, how much they respect each other, what their shared backgrounds and values are. These are much more important for a successful partnership. If you're ever going to experience romantic love, it should be after you've tied the knot, not before. Even so, you can't help hoping that your feelings for Thomas, the fluttering of your heart when he enters a room, and the warmth spreading through you when he looks at you, might be the start of something more than just being well suited to each other. Look outside. See the gas lamps lighting up the quiet street. A dog makes a loud, angry noise from far away. Somewhere, a carriage is slowly moving over the cobblestones. And in his family's townhouse in London, Thomas Fairchild is perhaps lying awake, thinking about tomorrow and the question he plans to ask your father. Morning comes too early and sometimes too late. You get dressed carefully in a pale blue morning dress. Thomas once said that he liked the color. Mary will style your hair to make your features look softer, but in a way that is still elegant. This morning, your dad is working from home. This is strange, but it shows that he is expecting Thomas to come. He is sitting in his study looking at papers, but you notice that he is wearing his best jacket and has a fresh flower in his buttonhole. Lunch is a tense time. Nobody mentions Thomas's visit, which is coming up soon, but the fact that he is coming makes it hard to have a normal conversation. Your mother is talking to the housekeeper about what food is going to be on the menu. Your dad is reading his newspaper. You don't eat because you're too nervous. You go to the drawing room with your mother at 5 minutes to 3. Victorian manners say that when Thomas arrives, you should look calm and busy, not excitedly waiting at the door. You try to do some needlework, but you can't do it well because your hands are too shaky. Your mother is sitting nearby. She looks like she is reading, but actually she is watching you. She feels sorry for you, but she's also excited. The clock strikes 3. The doorbell rings. You can hear the butler walking slowly and quietly, and the sound of people talking in the hallway. Then Thomas is shown to your father's study, not the drawing room where you wait. This shows that it is true. He wants to know if it's okay for him to ask you to be his girlfriend. Now comes the hardest part, waiting. A Victorian lady would never stand outside a door or listen in on private conversations, even if she really wanted to know what was being said. You must sit quietly with your sewing, pretending that your future isn't being decided in the room next door. 10 minutes have gone, and then another 5 minutes have gone. Your stitches are becoming more uneven. Your mother stops pretending to read and just looks at the clock. After waiting a long time, the study door opens. It feels like hours, but it was probably only 20 minutes. You hear your father's voice, and then you hear Thomas's voice. Someone is coming towards the drawing room. Your dad comes in first, and he looks like he's thinking about something. Thomas follows, looking unusually nervous, even though he looks perfect. "Dear," your dad tells your mom, "Mr. Fairchild wants to talk to Jane about something. We could give them a few minutes." Your mother raises an eyebrow. This is very unusual. If you're not married, you will always be watched when you are with someone, even when you are at home. But your dad nods to show he's okay, and your mom stands up. "We'll be in the morning room," she says, giving Thomas a look that clearly says something. "Act in a way that is fair and decent, or you will be punished." And then, amazingly, you find yourself alone with Thomas Fairchild. Well, not completely alone. The drawing room door is open, and you know your parents can hear you. But this is the most private way to do things that Victorian manners would allow. Thomas is standing next to the fireplace, and he looks more unsure than you've ever seen him. He looks calm, but actually he is feeling strong emotions. "Miss Wilson," he says, then stops. "Jane." He uses your first name to correct himself for the first time. "I've spoken with your dad, and he says it's okay for me to talk to you properly." Your heart beats so loudly that you wonder if he can hear it. This is the moment every young Victorian lady looks forward to. Thomas moves closer, but not too close. "From the moment we met, I've been impressed by how smart you are, how charming you are, and how kind you are. Over the past few weeks, I have really come to appreciate and like her a lot more." He stops for a moment, looking as if he is trying to find the courage to say something. At this moment, he's not a perfect Victorian gentleman. He's just a man being honest. "I want to say that I think very highly of you. Jane Wilson, will you marry me?" You can still hear Thomas's words. You have been waiting for this moment. But now that it's here, you find yourself really stressed. Even a proper Victorian lady who has seen this coming for weeks must appear surprised and overcome by a proposal. But the way you react isn't the only thing that matters. There's something special about the way Thomas looks when he's feeling vulnerable. You can see it in his eyes, and you can hear it in his voice when it seems a bit shaky. It touches you deeply. "Mr. Fairchild," you start by saying something, then you correct yourself. "Thomas, I'm very flattered by your offer." You stop for a moment, not to make people feel excited, but because you are too emotional to talk. This isn't what the Victorians would have done. You should look calm and modest, but not shy. "I would be extremely happy if you accepted me." Your voice is soft but firm. Thomas's face changes. He is very careful about what he says in public, but when he talks to you, he is so happy that you can hardly believe it. You can see what the man was really like for a short time, and he's not at all like the perfect Victorian gentleman. He was a sensitive man who was careful to control his emotions. "Jane," he says, and the way he says your name sounds like he's gently caressing you. "You have made me the happiest man in the world." He takes a step forward, then stops, thinking about what is appropriate. Even now, even though she is engaged to be married, Victorian rules say that you cannot be physically close to someone other than perhaps holding hands. Even that would be going a bit too far. "Can I?" he asks, putting out his hand. You put your hand in his and feel how warm his skin is compared to yours. It's a small touch, but in your world where you always have to be careful, it feels very personal. "I've got something for you," says Thomas, as he reaches into his coat pocket. He takes out a small velvet box and opens it to show a ring. "It was my grandmother's. The ring is beautiful. It is made of a deep blue sapphire, and it has small diamonds set in gold around it. This engagement ring isn't as flashy as some of the modern ones, but it's classy and looks like it's worth a lot." You say it's lovely as he puts it on your finger. It feels strange to lift it, but it's not unpleasant. This visible sign of your engagement will let everyone know about your new relationship before you say anything. The moment is suddenly stopped by the sound of footsteps. Your parents give you as much privacy as the rules of Victorian society allow, and then go back to the drawing room. Thomas immediately moves back to a safe distance, but he still looks at you. "Well," your dad says, looking at you. "Miss Wilson has kindly agreed to marry me, sir," Thomas says formally. Your mom looks really happy. "This is great. We need to have some champagne to celebrate." The butler is called, Champagne is poured, and everyone makes toast to the happy couple. No matter what happens, you will still be fine. The way Victorian courtship worked is confusing. A few weeks ago, Thomas was just someone I knew a little bit. He's now your fiancé, the man you're going to marry. Your dad says we should talk about dates after the first celebrations are finished. And settlements, of course. Yes, let's talk about the practical aspects of marriage in Victorian times. Romance is great, but marriage is also about money. Your father and Thomas will talk about the terms of your marriage settlement. This is basically a contract that says what money and property you bring to the marriage and what will happen to it after you get married. My lawyer has prepared some initial documents. Thomas says, "Now let's talk business. I'd be happy to go through them with you tomorrow, sir." "Great. Your dad says it's okay. I was thinking the wedding might be in 3 months." Thomas says that's enough time to get ready, but not so long that people will start to get impatient. Does his voice sound impatient? Does he want to start your joint life already? You feel a little excited when you think about it. 3 months seems like the right amount of time. Your mother agrees. It's long enough for a proper tutor to get ready, but not so long that people might gossip, because that's another rule from the Victorian era. Engagements should be neither too short, suggesting impropriety or necessity, nor too long, suggesting reluctance or problems. 3 months is the perfect amount of time. Thomas is coming to your home for dinner. This is the first meal he will eat as your official fiancé. You and your family will be able to talk easily with each other and feel close. People make plans, talk about dates, and think about the future. Even though everything is going on, you notice that Thomas is looking at you with a look of amazement on his face, as if he can't believe how lucky he is. When he finally leaves, he bows over your hand and holds it for a moment, maybe a little too long. He says goodbye to Jane, quietly. "Until tomorrow, Thomas," you reply, enjoying the newness of your name. The next 3 months go by quickly as we get ready. Your engagement is announced in the newspapers. Lots of people are congratulating her with phone calls and cards. Your mother and Mrs. Fairchild often meet up to plan the wedding breakfast and work out other details. You spend your days getting ready for your trip. The bride's large collection of clothes. Morning dresses, afternoon dresses, evening gowns, walking outfits, riding habits, nightgowns, dressing gowns, undergarments, gloves, bonnets, shoes, shawls. All of these items were needed by a Victorian wife for at least the first year of her marriage. And then there's your wedding dress. This is the most important dress you will ever own. It's white, of course. Queen Victoria made white wedding dresses popular when she married Prince Albert. It's made of silk and lace and has a long train. It's long enough to make an impression, but not so long that it looks too fancy. A veil made of delicate Brussels lace and white satin slippers. Every detail perfect. Your hope chest is filled with bed linen, sheets, tablecloths, napkins, and handkerchiefs. You have sewn many of these things yourself over the years, getting them ready for this moment, even before you knew who your husband would be. You often see Thomas when he is getting ready, but he is never alone. In Victorian times, even couples who were planning to get married were still expected to be chaperoned. You go for walks in the park with your mother. She walks just behind you. You go to dinner parties and balls together, but you always stay in public view. You exchange letters. This is the only private communication allowed. In these letters, you gradually share more of yourself than you would in a social setting. These letters show a side to Thomas that his public image doesn't really reveal. He writes about what he hopes for your future together, how much he admires your intelligence, and how he wants to be a husband who is worthy of you. He wants to be sincere and affectionate, and he wants to be someone you could read these letters to in public. 2 weeks before the wedding, the Fairchild will host a dinner party for both families. It's a chance for distant relatives to meet before the ceremony. Your aunts, uncles, and cousins compare Thomas's family to their own, and the same is true the other way around. The dinner goes well. Both families are well-mannered, rich, and respectable. There are no embarrassing relatives who might cause any problems. Your cousin Emily seems interested in my cousin William. Thomas tells you this quietly when everyone else is busy. Maybe there's a chance they'll get together again. You look where he's looking and see Emily laughing at something William has said. Maybe you agree. They would suit them well. Not as well as we do, Thomas says, his voice sounding calm and friendly. It's a simple statement, but it makes your cheeks go red. Even now, weeks after you got engaged, he can still make you feel nervous just by looking at you. A proper Victorian lady shouldn't show such obvious reactions, but Thomas seems pleased rather than shocked by your blush. The week before the wedding is very busy with lots of last-minute arrangements. Your wedding gifts are on display in the drawing room. We have silver services, crystal decanters, large bottles for liquids, fine china, porcelain, ornate clocks, and vases. People come to see them and say well done. The night before your wedding, your mother comes to your bedroom. This is just as Mary is brushing your hair for the last time in your childhood home. Tomorrow, you and Thomas will move into the Fairchild's townhouse. You will each have your own room. I wanted to talk to you. Your mom says, and nods to Mary to indicate that she's free to go. Regarding tomorrow night, this is the moment. The Victorian version of the speech. Many young ladies are so innocent that they don't know what to expect on their wedding nights. Your mother was ahead of her time. She thinks you should be prepared. When you get married, you get to be close physically. She starts off in a shy, nervous way. Wives should do what their husbands need. It might feel a bit awkward at first, but a lady stays calm and collected. This is not a very positive way to describe married life, but it is typical of how people thought about marriage in the Victorian era. Women aren't meant to enjoy physical intimacy. That would be unpleasant. They just put up with it because they have to, and so they can have kids. The most important thing, mate, your mother continues, is to make sure your household is a happy one. Make sure Thomas is comfortable. Don't ever disagree with him in front of other people. Make sure he can relax and unwind away from all the stress of work. This advice shows the Victorian idea that men and women should have different roles. Men are involved in the public world of business and politics. Women should focus on their home and family. As a wife, your job is to create a peaceful home environment for your husband and manage the household well. I think you and Thomas will be very happy, your mother says, patting your hand. He seems nice, and he clearly loves you. Thank you, Mom, you say, feeling grateful for her concern for your happiness, even though you think her advice could be better. I think we will be happy as well. You don't sleep much that night because you are thinking too much about the future. Your life as Miss Jane Wilson ends, and your life as Mrs. Thomas Fairchild begins. On the day of your wedding, the sun is shining. The ceremony will take place at 11 o'clock at St. George's Church on Hanover Square. This is the best choice for wedding outfits in society. You are dressed very carefully. First, put on your best underwear, then the beautiful white dress with its fitted top and full skirt. The delicate veil is placed over your hair, which is styled with care. You look beautiful, says Miss Mary, as she begs your pardon and cries. But you do. Thank you, Mary. Your reply has really touched me. Mary has been with you for years, helping you deal with the difficult world of Victorian womanhood. I'll miss you. Mary reminds you that you'll have your own ladies' maid at your new home. Mrs. Fairchild has hired someone who has worked with married women before. Just a friendly reminder that your life is about to change. Even the people who work for you will be different. The journey to the church in the carriage goes very quickly. Your father, looking smart in his formal morning clothes, helps you down and offers his arm to escort you inside. The church is full of flowers and the sound of fine fabrics as the guests stand to watch you arrive. And there at the altar is Thomas, looking really handsome in his wedding clothes. His face shows such clear admiration as he watches you walk towards him that you almost stumble. No one has ever seen you like that before. The ceremony is traditional and formal. You say your vows clearly, promising to love, honor, and obey. Thomas puts a gold ring on your finger to go with your engagement ring. The priest says the magic words, "You are man and wife." Thomas is allowed to lift your veil and kiss you on the cheek in a way that is respectful. This is the first time his lips have touched your skin. And just like that, you're married. Mrs. Thomas Fairchild was a new person with a new identity, status, and life. The wedding breakfast that follows is elegant, but not too fancy. Your parents have spent a lot, but not too much. In Victorian society, it was seen as bad taste to show off how much money you had. The champagne is flowing and the food is being served. People are making speeches. You're sitting next to Thomas at the head table. You are still a bit confused after this morning's events. "Are you happy, Jane?" Thomas asks quietly at a time when the others are not listening because they are busy eating cake. "I'm very happy," you tell him. And it's true. Even though courtship in Victorian times was very fast and there were strict social rules that affected every part of your relationship, you have developed strong feelings for this man, perhaps even love, although you would never use that word. After breakfast, you change out of your wedding gown and into a smart outfit that you can wear on your trip. You and Thomas will spend 2 weeks at his family's small country house in Kent. This is what a honeymoon was like in the past, even if it seems quite simple by today's standards. Saying goodbye is sad, but people try not to show it too much. Don't show too much emotion. Your mother gives you a quick hug. Your dad shakes Thomas's hand and kisses your cheek. Then you and your husband are finally alone together in the carriage. Thomas takes your hand. His thumb gently touches your palm. "Well, Mrs. Fairchild," he says, his voice sounding friendly and caring. "Are we ready to start our adventure?" You smile, a real smile, not the kind of smile that Victorian society usually expects. "Yes," you say. "Let the carriage take you to your new life." Wedding guests throw rice and flower petals behind you as a symbol of good luck and fertility. The next step is marriage, which is something no one has any experience of. It has good and bad points, and you find out a lot about yourself. Victorian society has very strict rules for wives, just as it does for unmarried women. You will be expected to run your household efficiently, supervise your servants, receive and make social calls, and engage in appropriate charitable work. You will also eventually become a mother, God willing. Your world will still be limited by what is considered appropriate and what people expect. But when Thomas's fingers meet yours and his eyes look at you with warmth and promise, you can't help feeling that, even though you're not officially together, you and Thomas might find your own way. You might find that you have a partnership not just of convenience or social suitability, but of genuine affection and respect. The carriage goes along the streets of London, heading towards Kent Road. Thomas points out things to see on the way, and he sounds really excited. You reply with your own comments, enjoying this new freedom to chat without anyone listening in. When you get to the countryside, it is starting to get dark. The hills of Kent are covered in golden light. The hedge is very tall, and it makes long shadows on the fields. It's peaceful here, away from the busy streets of London. The air feels fresh and sweet, like it's full of the scent of spring flowers. "I'm almost home," says Thomas, as the carriage turns onto a road lined with trees. "One of our homes, actually. We'll split our time between London and here, if that works for you." "It suits me very well." You tell him that he wants your opinion. In Victorian times, many husbands just told their wives what to do instead of asking their opinion. You can see the house. It's not a grand mansion, but a nice country house made of warm red brick with white trimmed windows. The lights glow in the evening. The servants are waiting at the door to welcome the new master and mistress. When the carriage stops, Thomas gently squeezes your hand. Welcome home, Jane. Even though Victorian society had a lot of rules and restrictions, and even though the courtship was very fast and there were a lot of unknowns, you feel that this is the right thing to do. This is where you should be with this man. You will build together in this life. The butler gets out of the carriage and opens the door. Thomas steps down first, then helps you to step down too. He grabs your waist and pulls you down. You are close together in the golden evening light, and you no longer feel the strict rules of courtship. Shall we? Thomas asks, offering his arm. You put your hand on his arm. You can feel how warm he is under his coat. Yes, you say. Let's go back home. You and your husband climb the steps towards your new life, leaving behind the limitations of being a single woman in Victorian times and entering the challenging yet different world of Victorian marriage. There will be new rules to learn and new expectations to meet, but you'll face them together. You'll find your own happiness within the structure society has built around you. As night falls over the Kent countryside and stars appear one by one in the deepening blue sky, you and Thomas go into your new home. The future is full of possibilities. Close your eyes and imagine you are in Victorian London.